The USDA presents Service Animals in the Federal Workplace. The ADA and Rehabilitation Act are the laws that lay the groundwork in prohibiting discrimination based on disability. Title I of the ADA requires employers with 15 or more employees to provide reasonable accommodations to applicants and employees with disabilities. However, the ADA only applies to private employers, state and local governments, employment agencies and labor unions. Section 501 of the Rehabilitation Act is the law that imposes this same reasonable accommodation requirement on federal employers. Although Section 501 of the Rehabilitation Act incorporates ADA standards, it is the Rehabilitation Act, not the ADA, that applies to the USDA. Under Section 501 of the Rehabilitation Act, the USDA has the opportunity to go above and beyond what Title I of the ADA requires, be a model employer, and aim to enhance the recruitment, hiring, career advancement, and retention of people with disabilities. Disability. People who need a service animal because of a physical condition are likely to qualify as having a disability. For example, blindness, deafness or paralysis. Many people with common mental health conditions, including major depressive disorder, PTSD, and OCD, also will qualify. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, enforces the employment provisions of Title I of the ADA and Section 501 of the Rehabilitation Act. And although service animals are not specifically addressed in the ADA, Section 501, or in EEOC regulations, EEOC maintains a position that allowing an individual with a disability to have a service animal or emotional support animal accompany them to work may be considered an accommodation. Type of animal: service animal versus emotional support animal. A service animal performs a function or job for an individual with a disability. The tasks performed by the service animal are directly related to the person's disability, like helping to lead someone who's visually impaired down the street, or detecting the onset of a seizure in someone with epilepsy. An emotional support animal provides comfort to people with anxiety, depression, or other challenges. The animal's presence brings a sense of calmness and security. While dogs, and sometimes miniature horses, are recognized as service animals, dogs, cats, birds, and other animals may be considered emotional support animals. While USDA allows an employee with a disability to be accompanied by their service animal in the workplace, and allows a customer with a disability to be accompanied by their service animal in all areas where the public is allowed to go, the USDA may only allow an employee to be accompanied by their emotional support animal in the workplace. A customer with an emotional support animal is not allowed in public areas where animals are prohibited. Documentation. When an employee's disability is not obvious, and/or the reason that the animal is needed is not clear, a federal employer may request documentation to establish the existence of a disability and how the animal helps the individual perform his or her job. Certification. EEOC regulations regarding employment do not require a service animal or emotional support animal to be certified or individually trained. A service animal or emotional support animal does not need any special identification card or identifying vest. Care and training. An employer does not have to train or care for the service animal. However, an employer may have to grant the employee additional leave as a reasonable accommodation to train the service animal, to care for the service animal, including vet appointments, and/or when the service animal is unavailable. Effect on other employees. If the service animal affects another employee because of his or her disability, for example, an allergy or phobia that substantially limits a major life activity, the employer may have to provide a reasonable accommodation to the other employee. If an employee is allergic to a certain animal or type of animal, a separated space or telework arrangement might be adequate to avoid allergic reaction. If an employee is afraid of a certain animal, or type of animal, a solution may be to allow enough space for, or relocate that person, to avoid getting close to the animal. In summary, federal employers, under Section 501 of the Rehabilitation Act, are required to provide reasonable accommodation. Allowing an individual with a disability to have a service animal or emotional support animal accompany them to work may be considered an accommodation. The USDA will consider allowing an employee with a disability to use a service animal or emotional support animal in the workplace on a case-by-case basis. The USDA will grant a request unless allowing the use of the animal would be an undue hardship or pose a significant risk of harm to the employee or others in the workplace. A final thought: service animals and emotional support animals can help employees with disabilities be included and successful in the workplace. The USDA is an equal opportunity provider, employer, and lender.